It's a familiar frustration, isn't it? Seeing promising new ideas just, well, stumble. Talented teams hitting dead ends, significant resources just evaporating. You start wondering, about the sheer unpredictability of innovation.
Absolutely. That feeling it's common.
Are we aiming right? Or just, like, chasing trends and hoping?
That sense of unpredictability, we hear about it constantly. So many companies, despite their best efforts, they find themselves stuck. They might dedicate themselves to perfecting a product, loading it with every feature imaginable.
Right, all the bells and whistles.
Exactly. Only to find out there isn't really a genuine need for it in the market.
Ouch.
Or they get caught tweaking existing features, small gains, while missing the big disruptive stuff.
The marginal improvements trap.
And then there's just betting on the latest buzz, which, well, it feels like a gamble, doesn't it? High stakes, uncertain payoff.
Totally. And the consequences, they can be huge. Wasted time, lost potential, and that feeling that, gosh, there has to be a smarter way. Well, today, we're diving deep into a framework that offers just that. The theory of jobs to be done.
Ah, yes.
It's a way of thinking that sort of flips the script. It moves our focus away from the product itself.
And towards the progress customers are actually trying to make. That's the key.
Right.
Instead of always asking, what new features can we add? We start asking, what job is the customer trying to get done here?
Such a fundamental shift.
It's subtle, maybe, but it can dramatically boost the predictability and profitability of your innovation.
Okay, so over our conversation today, we're going to explore this. We've got 7 key areas we want to unpack.
That's good.
First, the foundation. Understanding progress, not products.
Crucial starting point.
Then, the classic milkshake dilemma to really make it click.
Always a good one.
After that, jobs in the wild, how to spot these needs day to day.
Yep, observation.
Fourth is job hunting methods for actively finding these needs.
Getting systematic.
Then, how to hear what your customers don't say. Super important.
The unspoken stuff, yeah.
Sixth, building your resume, how your offering meets the job's needs.
Like in the case.
And finally, we wrap with integrating around a job, getting the whole organization aligned.
Bring it all together.
Ready to jump in?
Absolutely. Let's start by laying that groundwork.
Right, let's kick off with section 1, understanding progress, not products. This is really the core idea, isn't it? That customers don't just buy stuff, they hire it.
Precisely. They hire products or services to make progress in a specific circumstance.
So what's motivating them?
They have a goal, right? A challenge, a desire to improve things somehow. They're looking to hire something, a product, a service, to bridge that gap, make that progress. Jobs theory is the lens for understanding the why behind those choices.
And understanding that why, that has big implications for us, for our listeners. What does focusing on progress really mean day to day?
Well, first off, more predictable innovation, huge benefit.
Also,
when you really get the core job, you're operating with more than just guesswork, You can develop solutions you're much more confident people will actually want.
okay, makes sense. Predictability. What else?
Second, you actually create solutions people want. You move away from just building features you think are cool.
Right, the internal focus.
And you start crafting things that address a real need, demonstrably help customers move forward.
Then third.
A much stronger competitive advantage. By focusing on the underlying job, you differentiate in ways that actually matter to customers. It's not just about a feature checklist anymore.
Okay, so those are compelling benefits. Conversely, what happens if we don't think this way? What are the downsides for businesses sticking to the old product-centric view?
The consequences can be pretty substantial, actually. You often see innovation that's just hit or miss.
Yeah, throwing things at the wall.
Efforts fall flat, resources get poured into products nobody wants, and you miss big opportunities because you're looking at the wrong problem. You might also find yourself focusing on irrelevant features, adding bells and whistles that don't actually help the customer make their progress, so your product, it doesn't get hired.
Then the bottom line.
Ultimately, you'll likely struggle to compete effectively. If your competitors get the jobs customers are trying to do, they'll be much better positioned to win. Simple as that.
So let's make this concrete. How are some U.S. companies actually using jobs theory and seeing results?
Oh, there's some great examples. Take Intuit with TurboTax.
Okay.
They shifted their focus. It wasn't just about improving the software features anymore. They homed in on the fundamental job. Completing taxes without having to answer a million confusing questions or type in loads of data.
Ah, the user experience focus.
Exactly. That goal, their North Star, guides their innovation. It pushes them towards making it truly seamless, user-friendly.
That makes perfect sense. It's not just adding more forms, it's easing the whole stressful process. What's another example?
Think about Airbnb. They realize travelers often hire a place for more than just, a bed.
Right, it's not just lodging.
People might be seeking an authentic local vibe, a connection, a unique travel style. Their platform caters to a whole range of these underlying jobs, not just a room for the night.
And they definitely shook up the traditional hotel industry by getting those deeper motivations. Got one more.
Southern New Hampshire University, SNHU. Fascinating case of addressing what we call non-consumption.
Non-consumption.
Yeah, people who aren't currently using any solution. SNHU focused on the job of individuals underserved by traditional higher ed. Think working adults needing flexibility or people who hadn't considered college before.
Ah, okay.
By offering accessible online options, they tapped into a huge unmet need.
Really interesting how they all shifted perspective. Okay, flip side. What common mistakes do competitors make when they aren't using this jobs lens?
Well, sticking with tax software, you often see competitors still focus mainly on just adding more forms or making tiny tweaks to the interview process.
Incremental stuff.
Right. They might be missing the bigger picture of truly simplifying the whole experience, which is where Intuit really pulled ahead. They're focused on the what of the software, not the why of the user's struggle.
Gotcha. How about in travel?
Traditional hotels sometimes overlook those emotional social needs Airbnb taps into.
Like the local experience thing?
Yeah, or community. They might focus almost totally on room amenities and miss chances to connect guests with unique local stuff.
And higher education.
Traditional universities that haven't fully adapted to non-traditional learners needing flexibility, accessibility, they might see enrollment slip as places like SNHU effectively serve that segment they overlooked.
So for our listeners, maybe facing their own innovation hurdles, what are typical pain points that come from not grasping this progress concept?
Several key ones pop up. First, just a fundamental lack of clarity on what customers truly need. Companies guess or rely on internal views, not deep customer understanding.
Assumptions versus reality.
Exactly. Second, often an overemphasis on internal product features, which overshadows the customer's outcome.
Right.
And third, that persistent challenge. Predicting which innovations will actually stick. It often feels more like a gamble than strategy.
And what are some common but flawed ways companies try to fix these pain points, things listeners might recognize?
Oh, yeah. We often see feature-focused surveys asking customers, what new features do you want?
Leads to a long list, right?
A long list, often feature creep, and no real understanding of the underlying job. Another mistake? Looking at sales data alone. It tells you what's sold, but not why or what progress people hoped for.
Missing the context.
Totally. And finally, just benchmarking against competitors. It assumes they understand the job, which might not be true. You could just end up copying flawed assumptions.
Okay, so we see the pitfalls. What are some new, better ways for listeners to get to the heart of the progress customers are seeking? Actionable insights.
First key, focus on crafting a clear job story.
Job story.
Yeah. Instead of just features, really understand the situation the customer is in, their motivation, and the desired outcome. What progress are they trying to make? This uncovers the real job.
Situation, motivation, outcome. Got it.
Second, pay close attention to non-consumption. Study people not using existing solutions. Why not? What barriers exist? This reveals huge, often overlooked opportunities.
Look at who isn't buying. Interesting.
And third, actively identify workarounds. How are customers creatively adapting things or making their own solutions? These compensating behaviors are strong clues about unmet needs you could solve better.
That's incredibly helpful. Okay, let's move to section 2. A fantastic illustration of all this. The milkshake dilemma.
Ah, the classic. This one really crystallizes the power of jobs theory thinking.
So set the scene for us.
Okay, so this fast food place wanted to boost milkshake sales. Their first instinct, traditional approach.
Meaning?
They asked customers what they wanted in a milkshake. More flavors, different sizes, lower price. You know the grill.
Right, the standard product-centric feature questions. What happened?
They made some changes based on that feedback, but sales didn't really budge, no significant increase. That's when they shifted gears, using jobs theory. They started observing very closely when and why people were actually buying milkshakes, not just asking but watching.
And what did they find? The key insights.
They discovered a huge chunk of milkshake sales happened in the morning.
Morning. Milkshakes for breakfast.
Yeah. And the buyers,
Yeah.
overwhelmingly commuters, driving to work.
Okay, why?
These folks weren't necessarily looking for a tasty treat like you'd think. They were hiring the milkshake for a specific job,
Which was?
to make their boring morning commute more interesting
Why?
and to keep them full until lunch.
Ah, so it had functional requirements.
Exactly. It needed to be thick enough to last the whole drive, interesting enough to fight boredom, easy to consume with one hand.
Wow, that's a totally different perspective.
Yeah.
So what are the benefits of getting this specific milkshake job?
Well, first, much more targeted product improvement. Instead of random new flavors, maybe make it thicker, harder to drink quickly so it lasts longer, keeps them engaged on the commute.
Focus on the job's requirements.
Whoa.
Makes sense.
Second, it totally changes how you see competition. The real competition wasn't just other milkshakes.
Who was it then?
Could be a banana, a bagel, a Snickers bar, even just the boredom of the commute itself. Anything that could potentially do that keep me occupied and full job.
Opened your eyes to a much wider field.
Right. And third, it shows the job varies by circumstance. The morning milkshake job is different from the afternoon one, which might actually be about a treat or sharing with kids. Understanding these different jobs allows for tailored offerings.
Okay, and the flip side. What if they hadn't figured this out? The consequences of not understanding the job.
They might have kept focusing on the wrong features, spending money on new flavors that didn't solve the commuter's core problem.
Wasted effort.
Definitely. They also could have lost sales to unexpected competitors. Maybe someone introduces a breakfast smoothie that nails the commuter job better. Blindsided.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, they'd likely just keep making generic, one-size-fits-all milkshakes that don't truly satisfy anyone perfectly.
So thinking about businesses listening, what pain points might they feel if they don't dig into the underlying job like this?
Well, one big one is just lack of clarity on why certain customers choose them in specific situations. They see sales, but don't get the motivation.
The why is missing.
Right. Another is the risk of wasting effort on improvements that don't actually matter for the core job.
Yeah.
And finally, they might struggle to understand why they're losing customers to seemingly unrelated alternatives because they haven't defined the real competitive set from the customer's view.
And the wrong ways companies try to solve these kinds of issues in a milkshake-like context.
You might do broad surveys. What's your favorite flavor? How sweet should it be? Without digging into the when and why.
Context is key.
Totally. Or they analyze sales by time of day, but just look at the products sold, missing the circumstances, the progress sought.
Just the what, not the why.
Or they benchmark only against other milkshake sellers, assuming everyone competes on the same things.
So what are the better approaches? The new ways, suggested by Jobs Theory. How could the restaurant have started better?
What they ultimately did was crucial observation. They focused on the job story.
Remind us of that again.
When I'm on my boring morning commute situation, I want something to keep me engaged and full motivation so that I'm not hungry by 10 a.m. outcome. Understanding that is key.
Got it.
They also implicitly looked at non-consumption, like what were non-milkshake buyers doing? Bringing snacks, just coffee.
Right.
And they could have looked for workarounds. Were people buying coffee and a pastry to try and get the same effect? Those insights define the job.
That milkshake example, it really makes it tangible, doesn't it? Okay, let's move to section 3, jobs in the wild. Now we get the concept, how do we actually spot these jobs in the real world?
Jobs in the wild.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's really about cultivating a mindset. Keen observation of behavior, understanding context.
Training yourself to see past the product.
Exactly. Focus on the progress people are trying to make in their daily lives, their routines.
So what are the benefits of actively looking for these jobs out there?
Well, first, you uncover latent, unmet needs. Things traditional market research might totally miss. You see opportunities where others just see existing solutions.
Hidden gems.
Kind of, yeah. Second, it helps you truly grasp the real competitive landscape. You realize who you're actually competing against, maybe unrelated products, or even just the status quo doing nothing.
Broadens the definition of competition again.
Right. And third, it fuels genuinely innovative ideas because they're grounded in real struggles, real aspirations of potential customers.
And the downsides of not paying attention. What critical stuff might companies miss?
They run a huge risk of just being unaware of evolving needs, emerging opportunities.
Blind spot.
Big ones. They might just keep making tiny improvements to existing stuff while disruptive forces are brewing all around them.
Like the boiling frog analogy.
Sorta, yeah. And they can be caught totally off guard by competitors who do understand the jobs and create solutions that resonate way more deeply.
Can you give some examples?
Yeah.
U.S. companies good at spotting these jobs in the wild.
Think about Uber or Lyft. They saw the frustrations with taxis, right?
Yeah.
Hailing, fare uncertainty, payment hassle.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
They identified the fundamental job, reliably and conveniently get from A to B, and built a whole solution around fixing those pain points.
Absolutely. They didn't just make another taxi app. They solved the core job differently, better. Another example.
How about Netflix? They observed the growing desire for on-demand entertainment. No rigid schedules, no hassle of renting DVDs or tapes.
The blockbuster pain points.
Exactly. They identified the job, access a wide variety of movies and shows conveniently, personally.
Revolutionized entertainment consumption. One more.
Dollar Shave Club. Great example for a recurring need. They saw the frustration. Expensive razor blades, inconvenient buying process.
The drugstore hassle.
Right. The job. Get a convenient, affordable supply of quality razors delivered regularly. Bam.
Simple, clear job. So in each case, they saw a pain, a struggle, a job not well served. What about companies that missed these cues? Competitor mistakes.
Well, traditional taxi companies were slow, weren't they? Slow to adapt to on-demand digital hailing, stuck in their old dispatch models.
Definitely.
Blockbuster famously had the chance to buy Netflix early, but fundamentally missed the shift to streaming, the consumer desire for convenience.
Ouch, historic miss.
And established personal care giants maybe underestimated how much price and convenience mattered together, which Dolly Shave Club nailed.
So for companies trying to get better at spotting these jobs in the wild, what are the inherent challenges? It's not always obvious, is it?
No, definitely not. One pain point is just knowing where to look, what signals matter. Companies get entrenched in their own products, their own markets, and miss signals from the periphery.
Tunnel vision.
Yeah. Another big challenge is overcoming biases, preconceived ideas about customers and their needs. We all have them.
True.
And a third is just developing the right internal processes, the right analytical frameworks to capture and interpret these often subtle observations.
And the common but ineffective ways companies try to tackle this.
Relying too heavily on traditional methods, surveys, focus groups, these often ask about stated needs, not observed behavior and context.
Disking versus watching.
Exactly. Another is focusing only on existing customers, ignoring non-customers or people using workarounds. Big mistake.
Missing potential new markets.
And a third is just looking at direct competitors without really understanding the underlying customer needs those competitors might also be missing.
So what are the more effective ways? The new ways,
Yeah.
based on jobs theory for better job hunting in the wild.
First, embrace ethnographic research. Go out, observe customers in their natural settings, watch how they struggle, where they create makeshift solutions, what their actions reveal about unmet needs.
Get out of the building.
Absolutely. Second, consciously look for and analyze patterns of non-consumption. Who isn't using solutions in your market? Why not? What barriers exist? Huge innovation potential there.
Though why not?
And third, pay super close attention to complaints and frustrations, not just as problems to fix in your current product, but as clues pointing to deeper unmet jobs needing a whole new solution.
That makes a lot of sense, shifting from just asking to actively observing and understanding context.
Okay.
Section 4, job hunting. Now we know where to look. How do we uncover these jobs more systematically?
Job hunting, yeah, it's about developing a deliberate, structured approach, identifying and clearly defining the core jobs customers are trying to get done, moving beyond anecdotes to rigorous understanding.
So what are the benefits of having a systematic job hunting process?
Well, first, you identify a much wider range of potential innovations, including ones hidden from traditional methods.
More opportunities surface.
Exactly. Second, it gives you a framework to prioritize. Which jobs are most significant? Biggest market potential? Best fit for your business?
Helps focus resources.
Right. And third, it creates a shared language, a consistent framework for the whole team to discuss and understand customer needs. Leads to more focused, effective innovation.
And the downsides of not having a systematic approach.
You risk missing major market opportunities. Innovation efforts become scattered, maybe driven by internal hunches or tech possibilities, not real customer needs.
Less targeted.
Much less. And you could easily end up investing heavily in solutions for jobs that aren't actually that important to customers, leading to disappointing results, wasted money.
Okay. Could you give examples of U.S. companies that seem to have a robust job hunting process, even if it's internal?
Well, the exact processes are often proprietary, right? But we see evidence in companies that consistently disrupt. Think about Procter & Gamble.
Puget.
They invest massively in understanding consumer habits, identifying unmet needs across tons of categories before launching new products. Their focus isn't just improving Tide, it's identifying fundamental jobs in cleaning, personal care, grooming.
Their deep consumer research is legendary. Another example.
How about Amazon? They constantly analyze huge amounts of customer data behavior, feedback, search queries to spot emerging needs, new opportunities.
Like AWS or their move into entertainment?
Exactly. Their expansion often stems from deeply understanding underlying customer jobs, sometimes ones customers didn't even know they had yet.
How about a different sector?
Look at the Mayo Clinic. Not a traditional product company, but their whole patient care approach is rooted in understanding the jobs a patient needs done when facing a health issue.
It's more than just treating the illness.
Way more. It's emotional support, clear information, a seamless experience. Their focus on these broader patient jobs drives their service innovation.
So even in healthcare, job hunting applies. What mistakes might competitors make by not having this systematic approach?
Competitors might rely too much on internal ideas or tech advances without rigorously checking them against real customer needs.
Tech push versus market pull.
Right. They might do market research that's too shallow, not getting the fundamental why behind choices.
Surface level stuff.
Or they just try to copy successful solutions without truly understanding the job that solution fulfills. Leads to Me Too products that don't stand out.
So for a company wanting to improve its job hunting, what are the common pain points or challenges?
Definitely not always easy. One pain point is just knowing who to focus on, which customers or potential customers, and how to access them for meaningful insights.
Finding the right people.
Yeah. Another challenge is overcoming dependency to frame needs within your existing product categories or solutions, thinking outside your own box.
Breaking assumptions.
And a third is developing the skills internally. How to conduct effective job interviews, how to analyze the qualitative data rigorously for actionable insights.
The skill set required.
Absolutely.
And the wrong ways companies try to address these pain points.
They might do broad, unfocused surveys that yield very little actionable insight.
Quantity over quality.
Or they focus only on talking to existing, loyal customers, totally missing insights from non-customers or those who switched away.
The echo chamber effect.
Could be. Or they rely too much on readily available market data without investing in the deeper qualitative research needed to uncover the underlying jobs.
Okay, so what are the more effective new ways to approach job hunting based on jobs theory?
First, conduct structured job interviews. The goal is deep understanding of individual job stories, the situation, motivation, desired outcome in rich detail.
Really dive deep with individuals.
Yes. Second, actively seek out and engage with non-consumers. Understand the barriers preventing them from using existing solutions. What job are they unable to get done?
Focus on the barriers.
And third, meticulously analyze workarounds and compensating behaviors. These are powerful indicators of unmet needs your innovations could address effectively.
These job interviews sound crucial, maybe a future deep dive topic. But for now, Section 5. How to hear what your customers don't say, because often the best insights aren't explicit, right?
Absolutely. Customers struggle to articulate deep needs or might not even be consciously aware of them. This section is about uncovering those unspoken needs, those latent desires that lead to breakthrough innovations.
So what are the benefits of tapping into these unspoken needs?
Well, first, you identify truly novel opportunities your competitors, focused only on stated needs, might completely miss.
Finding the white space.
Exactly. Second, you create solutions that not only meet existing needs, but also anticipate future ones. Big competitive edge.
Getting ahead of the curve.
And third, it fosters much deeper customer loyalty. You're addressing needs they couldn't even articulate, creating a sense of being truly understood. Powerful stuff.
And the downsides of not hearing what they don't say.
You risk focusing only on incremental improvements, not disruptive innovations, addressing fundamental, unarticulated needs.
Stuck in the status quo.
You might miss crucial underlying pain points, subtly driving customers to alternatives, maybe in totally different categories.
Losing share unexpectedly.
And you could be blindsided by competitors who are attuned to these unspoken needs and develop solutions that resonate much more powerfully.
Can you think of U.S. companies good at understanding unspoken needs?
Apple comes to mind. A long history of creating products people didn't explicitly ask for, but quickly couldn't live without.
Like the iPod Or the iPad.
Exactly. Not direct responses to surveys, but results of deep intuition about underlying desires, seamless integration, ease of use, elegant design.
That's a great point. They often seem to anticipate or even create the need. Another example.
Think about Amazon again, continuously expanding beyond e-commerce, anticipating needs for ever-increasing convenience and selection.
Like AWS.
Yeah, their move into cloud computing wasn't a direct request from shoppers, but an astute grasp of the growing need for reliable, scalable digital infrastructure. An unspoken but massive job.
How about a totally different industry?
Look at car safety features over time. Early on, customers probably weren't explicitly demanding anti-lock brakes or airbags.
Right. Maybe not top of mind.
But these innovations addressed a deep, often unspoken need for safety, security. Companies that proactively invested in these likely gained a significant edge long term.
So what mistakes might competitors have made by not focusing on these unspoken needs?
Competitors might have focused too much on just matching existing features or competing only on price, missing the chance to differentiate through intuitive design or anticipating future needs.
Feature parity isn't enough.
Often not. They might rely too heavily on traditional research that only captures stated preferences, missing deeper emotional drivers.
Sticking to the script.
Or they might be too focused on their existing tech, missing broader shifts in customer desires and expectations.
What are the inherent pain points for companies trying to get better at uncovering unspoken needs? Feels like trying to read minds sometimes.
It can feel like that. One pain point is overcoming the curse of knowledge. Assuming customers see things from your internal perspective, use your jargon.
Internal blinders.
Another is developing the empathy and observational skills needed to truly understand subtle struggles, frustrations.
Soft skills.
Crucial ones. And a third challenge is creating a culture that genuinely values and acts on these nuanced, less explicit insights.
And the wrong ways companies try to address these pain points.
They might do internal brainstorming based on their own assumptions, not grounded in external observation.
Guesswork.
They might rely too much on superficial sentiment analysis of feedback without digging into the why behind the sentiments.
Scratching the surface.
Or they try asking customers directly what they don't like, which is often hard for people to articulate clearly.
So what are the more effective new ways to really hear what customers don't say using jobs theory?
First, deeply understand the context of the customer's experience, the situations where they're trying to get a job done. Observe behavior, note frustrations, document workarounds.
Context, context, context.
Second, pay attention to the interplay between the forces of progress, pushing them toward a new solution, and the forces of habit resisting change, keeping them with the status quo. Understanding that push-pull is key.
The forces framework. Interesting.
And third, actively look for recurring patterns in customer struggles, even if they don't seem directly related to your current products. These unexpected patterns often reveal significant underlying needs you could address.
Looking for those surprising connections. Okay, section 6, building your resume. Now we understand the jobs. How do we position our products or services as the perfect hire for that job?
Building your resume, yeah. It's about ensuring your offering clearly, convincingly shows it can satisfy the core job the customer needs done.
Like a job applicant's resume.
Exactly. Crafting and communicating your value proposition so it directly resonates with the customer's specific needs, desired outcomes, aspirations.
So what are the benefits of having a really strong resume, clear alignment between your offering and the customer's job?
First, significantly higher adoption rates. Customers easily see how your solution helps them make progress.
It clicks for them.
Second, you can often command a premium price. You're effectively addressing an important recognized need. Value justifies price.
Right.
And third, it fosters much stronger, enduring loyalty. You're consistently delivering on the promise of helping them get their critical job done.
And the downsides of a weak or unclear resume. A mismatch between the offering and the job.
You'll likely struggle with low adoption. Customers just won't see how it helps them.
Doesn't connect.
You'll probably be forced to compete mainly on price, eroding margins, making the business less sustainable.
The race to the bottom.
And you'll almost certainly see higher customer churn as they seek alternatives better aligned with their needs.
Can you think of U.S. companies with particularly strong resumes for the jobs they serve?
Southwest Airlines built a remarkably strong resume for the specific job of affordable, convenient, short-haul air travel.
Their whole model seems built around that.
Their no-frills approach. Focus on on-time arrivals, friendly service, It all directly addresses the core needs of travelers, prioritizing price and efficiency for shorter trips.
Very clear niche. Another example.
Let's revisit Mayo Clinic. Their resume for the job of effectively navigating complex health issues is incredibly strong.
How so?
Their integrated care model, reputation for expertise, focus on the overall patient experience, it clearly signals their ability to help patients make progress towards better health outcomes.
A trusted partner for a tough job. One more.
Zoom rapidly built a powerful resume for the critical job of seamless, reliable virtual communication.
Especially during the pandemic, right?
Absolutely. Its intuitive ease of use, stability, essential features directly address the core needs of individuals and businesses needing to connect remotely. Nailed the job.
So what mistakes might competitors make in building their resume?
Competitors of Southwest might try offering all the legacy airline frills while trying to match price, diluting their value prop, not clearly addressing the core job.
Trying to be everything.
Other healthcare providers might focus too narrowly on specific ailments, missing the broader job of navigating the complex system, providing holistic support.
Missing the bigger picture job.
And competing video platforms might offer tons of confusing features without achieving Zoom's core reliability and ease of use for the fundamental communication job.
What are the pain points for companies trying to strengthen their resume?
One big one is truly understanding and defining which specific jobs they're offering should primarily focus on, getting that clarity.
Prioritization.
Another challenge is effectively articulating the value prop, how you help customers make progress in a way that resonates.
Communicating the why.
And a third is ensuring all aspects, features, marketing, support, are consistently aligned with that core job. No weak links.
And the common but ineffective ways companies try to fix these issues.
They might try appealing to too broad an audience, being all things to all people, dilutes the message.
Lack of focus.
They might focus marketing on listing features, not explaining the tangible benefits and outcomes customers achieve.
Features versus benefits again.
Or they suffer from internal silos, preventing a consistently aligned, seamless customer experience across all touchpoints.
Organizational friction.
Exactly.
So what are the more effective new ways to strategically build your resume using jobs theory?
First, clearly, concisely define the primary job your product service is designed for. Be precise. Situation, outcome, barriers overcome.
Crystal clear definition.
Second, focus your messaging and marketing on communicating how you help customers make that progress. Use language that resonates with their needs, motivations, aspirations.
Speak their language.
And third, ensure the entire organization, product, sales, service, is fully consistently aligned around delivering on that core job. Every interaction reinforces your ability to help them progress.
That idea of total organizational alignment sounds critical, which brings us perfectly to our final section today. Integrating around a job. This is about the whole company orienting around fulfilling specific customer jobs, right?
Exactly. Integrating around a job is a fundamental shift. The whole organization structure, processes, metrics, culture becomes deeply focused on understanding and satisfying the specific jobs customers are trying to get done.
Making the customer's job the central organizing principle.
Precisely. It guides everything.
So what are the benefits for a company fully integrated around core customer jobs?
Well, first, much more focused, effective innovation. R&D is targeted at solving real, articulated needs, less waste.
Better R&D ROI.
Second, greater operational efficiency and alignment across departments. Everyone shares a common goal, fulfilling the job.
Breaking down silos.
Right. And third, a much stronger, more sustainable competitive advantage. The entire organization is geared towards delivering superior value that truly matters to customers.
And the consequences of not integrating.
Innovation efforts can become fragmented, misdirected, wasted resources, missed opportunities.
Lack of strategic cohesion.
Internal silos persist or worsen, hindering collaboration, creating disjointed customer experiences.
Frustrating for everyone.
And the organization is far more vulnerable to competitors who do have a clear, unified focus on meeting core customer needs.
Are there specific U.S. companies you see as particularly well integrated around clear customer jobs?
Amazon, again, is a compelling example. Their whole operation, e-commerce, logistics, customer service, is deeply integrated around the job of providing unparalleled selection at competitive prices, delivered with exceptional convenience and reliability.
That job seems to drive everything they do. Another example.
Consider Vanguard Financial Services. Their business model is integrated around the job of helping individuals invest and save for their long-term financial future, emphasizing low costs and long-term growth.
Your structure reflects that job.
Their structure, investment philosophy, customer communications, it all consistently reinforces that primary job.
Got it. One more example.
Tesla. While their journey has had challenges, they're increasingly integrating their entire operation around the job of providing a compelling, sustainable personal transportation experience.
How so?
Focus on EVs, building their own charging infrastructure, over-the-air software updates. It all contributes to an integrated vision for that job.
So what mistakes might competitors make in achieving this kind of integration?
Competitors of Amazon might have different parts of their business operating in isolation, leads to inefficiencies, less seamless customer experience.
Lack of synergy.
Other investment firms might have complex fees or focus on short-term trading, not fully aligning with the long-term savings job many individuals have.
Misaligned incentives.
And traditional automakers might struggle to integrate hardware and software for EVs as seamlessly as Tesla, which started with that integrated approach.
Legacy challenges.
Definitely.
What are the inherent pain points for companies trying to achieve this deep integration? Sounds like a massive undertaking.
It absolutely is. One major pain point is overcoming entrenched structures, ingrained ways of working, resistance to change.
Organizational inertia.
Another big challenge is aligning disparate departmental goals and priorities around a shared understanding of the customer's job.
Getting everyone on the same page.
And a third is developing the right KPIs and incentives that consistently reinforce this job-centric approach across the whole organization, measuring what matters for the job.
And the wrong ways companies try to tackle these integration challenges.
They might create superficial cross-functional teams without real empowerment or aligned incentives, just rearranging deck chairs.
Looks good on paper, maybe.
They might issue vague statements about being customer-centric without defining the specific jobs they're helping customers do. Lacks teeth.
Too abstract.
Or they try imposing a new structure top-down without explaining the why and securing genuine buy-in from employees at all levels.
So what are the more effective new ways to achieve deep integration around a job based on jobs theory?
First, clearly define the primary core jobs your company will strategically focus on. Ensure everyone understands these jobs and their importance. Shared clarity.
Nail down the focus jobs.
Second, consciously design your structure, processes, and metrics around those defined jobs. Actively break down silos. Empower cross-functional teams focused on delivering value for those jobs.
Structure follows strategy. Job strategy.
And third, cultivate a pervasive company culture that's deeply empathetic to customer needs and relentlessly focused on helping them make progress. Requires ongoing communication, training, and unwavering commitment from leadership.
Culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? Gotta have both.
Exactly. The culture needs to support the job focus.
Wow. This has been an incredibly insightful, really thorough deep dive into the theory of jobs to be done. We've covered a ton of ground today.
We certainly have.
From that fundamental shift in perspective right through to the critical need for deep organizational alignment around these customer jobs.
Absolutely. And the central message, the key takeaway we really hope resonates is this. Make that conscious effort. Stop focusing only on product features and truly dedicate yourselves to understanding the real progress your customers are trying to achieve in their lives.
Because when you truly get those underlying jobs, you move beyond unpredictable innovation. You start consistently creating offerings that aren't just bought, but are actively sought after, valued, integrated into lives.
It's about understanding the real demand and building solutions that directly meet it.
It's a path to more predictable, more rewarding, more sustainable innovation.
Precisely. Focusing on the job unlocks that path.
So, for you, our listener, as you go about your day, start actively thinking, what for the fundamental jobs your customers are trying to get done?
What are their real struggles? What progress do they hope for?
And what unexpected insights might pop up when you start looking at your market, your customers, through this powerful new lens?
Consider how this perspective could reshape your understanding of your market and the exciting new opportunities just waiting beneath the surface.
It's a fundamental shift, but potentially profound results.
Indeed. It can be transformative.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today for this deep dive. We really hope it's given you valuable food for thought, some practical new ways to think about innovation.
It's been a real pleasure discussing it.
Until our next deep dive, keep exploring, keep asking those crucial why questions. It's a familiar frustration, isn't it? Seeing promising new ideas just well, stumble.
Hmm.
Talented teams hitting dead ends, significant resources just evaporating. You start wondering, about the sheer unpredictability of innovation.
Absolutely. That feeling it's common.
Are we aiming right? Or just, like, chasing trends and hoping?
That sense of unpredictability, we hear about it constantly. So many companies, despite their best efforts, they find themselves stuck. They might dedicate themselves to perfecting a product, loading it with every feature imaginable.
Right, all the bells and whistles.
Exactly. Only to find out there isn't really a genuine need for it in the market.
Ouch.
Or they get caught tweaking existing features, small gains, while missing the big disruptive stuff.
A marginal improvements trap.
And then there's just betting on the latest buzz, which, well, it feels like a gamble, doesn't it? High stakes, uncertain payoff.
Totally. And the consequences, they can be huge. Wasted time, lost potential, and that feeling that, gosh, there has to be a smarter way. Well, today, we're diving deep into a framework that offers just that. The theory of jobs to be done.
Ah, yes.
It's a way of thinking that sort of flips the script. It moves our focus away from the product itself.
And towards the progress customers are actually trying to make. That's the key.
Right.
Instead of always asking, what new features can we add? We start asking, what job is the customer trying to get done here?
Such a fundamental shift.
It's subtle, maybe, but it can dramatically boost the predictability and profitability of your innovation.
Okay, so over our conversation today, we're going to explore this. We've got 7 key areas we want to unpack.
That's good.
First, the foundation. Understanding progress, not products.
Crucial starting point.
Then, the classic milkshake dilemma to really make it click.
Always a good one.
After that, jobs in the wild, how to spot these needs day to day.
Yep, observation.
Fourth is job hunting methods for actively finding these needs.
Getting systematic.
Then, how to hear what your customers don't say. Super important.
The unspoken stuff, yeah.
Sixth, building your resume, how your offering meets the job's needs.
Like in the case.
And finally, we wrap with integrating around a job, getting the whole organization